Do you struggle with maintaining the shape of your locks how they were originally? Or do you have your locks for a while and you all of a sudden got flat locks and you're wondering how do you reverse it or prevent it in the future, or how it even got there in the first place? A lot of us locked people might struggle with changes in our locks somewhere down the line in our lock journey. Locks change and morph, and you never sometimes can predict how they'll look in the future. And one of the most common struggles, especially with semi-freeform locks, is flat locks. So I'm going to talk about in this video how to prevent and how to further maintain your locks without them being flat. So if you're interested, keep on watching. So a question that I've gotten often on this channel is, why do flat locks happen, and do I have any flat locks, and how do I prevent it? So I'll just go ahead and answer all of those. Why do flat locks happen? There's a couple reasons. Number one, it could be because of your current maintenance routine. Something in your maintenance routine is causing them, and that's pretty much the whole thing. It's your maintenance, right? One reason might be possibly you wash your hair and you air dry it, or you don't dry it all the way, and then you either go to sleep or you put on like a do-rag or something that smushes your locks down. And while it's still damp, because it's smushed down, it actually flattens, because locks are meant to mold in shape. And then another reason could be maybe you don't retwist. So if you don't retwist, locks over time can actually become flat, especially if you have thicker locks. So in the semi-freeform lock community, that could happen. And semi-freeform locks just means you're anywhere in between traditionally styled and maintained locks, where you probably retwist every so often, maybe 2 weeks to a month, and then you retwist regularly. Semi-freeform is in between that and in between completely freeform, where one day you just decide, I'm going to stop I'm going to stop combing or maintaining my locks and just let them form. So semi-freeform locks is the most common experience where people experience flat locks, semi-freeform or freeform locks. And it's because of a lack of palm rolling. Now, do I have any... Oh, and I'm going to get to palm rolling in a little bit, right? I'm going to get to that later. But to answer the question, if I have flat locks, yes, I do. And I'm going to try to pull them out so you all can see. Most of them are in the back of my head, which I think makes sense. Okay, here's one. So this one, as you can see, when I turn it that direction, let me get closer. Oh, here goes. All right, this is a flat lock. And it's flat because actually, I don't know, because the ones around it aren't very flat. This one here is also a little bit flat, but it's also still a little bit cylindrical, right? I do also have some locks that are mostly flat near the root or towards the roots. Like this one, you can definitely see that this one is pretty much flat from the root to the tip. But overall, the rest of my locks are pretty cylindrical. So this could be, and sorry for my camera's lack of focus, but the reason why people get flat locks is because probably you don't palm roll or retwist or interlock. So palm rolling and retwisting, what they do is, and they usually go hand in hand, but they mold your locks into a shape. So when you go to get your hair retwisted and styled, your hair is being molded into like a cylindrical shape. And same thing when you palm roll. However, when you don't do either of those, they are a little bit more malleable, I would say. So if you don't do it, like I don't do it, even if you go to bed with dry hair every single night, your locks are a lot more malleable than those who may retwist or those who may get palm rolled, because palm rolling is like this. So you take the lock and then you roll it. And then once you roll it, and then once you do that around your whole head, you're basically condensing the lock and compressing the locks so the hairs are more tightly squished together. And that's what happens when people do the retwist and they leave the clips on there and stuff like that. When you don't do that, your lock hairs are more loose, and that's why my locks look so fluffy and there's more volume, because I don't palm roll. Now if I wanted to, let's say, interlock my hair, it's the same thing. You are not likely to get flat locks when you interlock, because interlocking also forms your hair in a shape. You take the crochet needle and then you intertwine the lock into the base or the root, and it very tightly binds the lock hairs in with one another, so they're not as malleable and you can't shape them as much. So how do you prevent getting flat locks? You can prevent it by regularly palm rolling your locks, or regularly interlocking or retwisting. Now, if you want to have semi-freeform locks, which I talk about a lot on this channel, which is when you don't retwist as often and you sort of freeform, you can still palm roll your locks. So every time you notice that your locks are getting flat, most of mine are in the back, but that might happen for you in a different way. It might happen so that your flat locks are on the side of your head or on the front. You could start palm rolling your locks, where you just take your locks in between your hands and kind of rub them together, and that could shape your locks back to normal. I would suggest doing it when you're fresh out the shower, when you do your wash day routine, or whenever you do it. Another way that you can help to maintain your original look of or shape of the locks is to not use tight bonnets or do-rags. So sometimes your tight do-rag can press your hair down to your scalp, and then the locks start to grow in flatter because they're compressed. So you could wear something loose like a jumbo bonnet, and you can get that from like the beauty supply store, or just do a satin pillowcase. Now, just to be clear, there's nothing wrong with having flat locks, meaning flat locks is not a disadvantage. It doesn't mean that your locks aren't healthy. And as a matter of fact, some hair types are more likely to get flat when you have locks, just because of the shape of the curl or the shape of the coil. So when you think about it, there's different hair patterns. Like there's a pattern that goes like this, you know, in terms of like a coil, and then there's patterns that go like this. You know what I'm saying? Like there's squiggly lines and then there's a coil. And I feel like if you have a coil pattern, then you're less likely to have flat locks. And when you have an S-shape pattern in your locks, you're more likely to have flat locks. Because when you think of an S shape is like a 2D, more 2D, and a coil is more 3D. So if you put an S shape on its side, it's gonna lay flat. Whereas if you put a coil on its side, it's still gonna have volume and expand. So if you think about a whole bunch of coils in one lock, the lock is probably going to more so stay in its round shape. And that's probably why I have more, rounded locks, even though I have semi-freeform locks, and even though I don't palm roll at all, because I might have more coils in one spot of my head. And like I said, in the back is where some of my flat locks are. As you can see, this one is a little flat too. You can literally notice it if I turn it sideways, because it's one of the more thicker locks. And probably in the back I have more S-shaped coils, and in the front I might have more coil-shaped coils. And then also in general, if you sleep on your side or if you sleep on your back, you might have more flat locks. Again, this can happen even if you wear looser bonnets, even if you wear looser headgear or no type of bonnet at all, you just use a satin pillowcase, right? It just is all a case by case basis. I'm just giving some examples of why it might happen for you. However, having flat locks doesn't mean it's unhealthy. It doesn't mean that your locks aren't moisturized, and it doesn't mean that you're not maintaining it right. It just means that some people have different hair textures and types. And I think it actually is an indication that your hair is more naturally maintained instead of shaped and formed. And that's all there is to it. It's nothing wrong with having flat locks. I actually think I enjoy having flat locks sometimes because it's different, and every single lock on my head of hair is like a different size, and some of them are different shapes because some of them are flat and then some of them are round. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know what you enjoyed the most about it in the comments, and I hope to see you in the next one. Until then, I'm sending peace your way, love your way, and joy to you, your family, and friends. Also, if you enjoyed this video, then watch this video in the corner about my lock care and maintenance routine for semi freeform locks. Peace.